All right, welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. We are 5 weeks away from the draft. This 5 weeks, this Thursday, will be the NFL draft on April 23rd, right the day after my wedding anniversary. I went to a draft fest my wedding anniversary, in fact. I've told that
How'd that
story
go?
many times. It was funny because I was getting married at 7 o'clock that night. And so I had the whole day to kind of try and figure out what the heck I was going to do. My wife was getting her makeup done, her hair done, all the bridesmaids were getting all that done. So, it was kind of like, you go find something to entertain yourself. So that's what we did. My brother, my dad, and I all went to the draft fest in '95, and I hung out there. That was the year we took Mark Fields, and Warren Sapp was sliding that day, and there was excitement for the idea we could get Warren Sapp, but of course Tampa Bay took him right in front of the Saints. But yeah, I mean, and then that night at the wedding, we get married. I'm mic'd up, and I lean over to Debbie and said, the Saints drafted a linebacker from Washington in the first round. And Debbie just looks at me and rolls her eyes. I said, Mark Fields, Washington. And he took a fullback from Notre Dame in the second, Ray Zellers. So, yeah, I knew I was mic'd up, so I had to say something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she just rolled her eyes. She knew what she was marrying into. Hell, she went with me to the playoff game in '92 against the Eagles, so she didn't dump me then. And she was just my girlfriend then, She saw how maniacal I got at that game, so she's like, yeah, I'm going to stick with him. But, it's funny. Bob and I were talking off the air, by the way, for everybody, about Draft Fest, because Draft Fest, the NFL draft is taking place in Bob's hometown there in Pittsburgh on the 23rd. And my son wants to go, and I think he's planning on being there. And I was just talking about all the different draft parties I've been to that the Saints have done. Draft Fest in '95 was one of them. I went to the one in '96. Now I was I living in Lafayette? Yeah, I was living in Lafayette at that point. So I came in for that. And I went to, Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to anybody who didn't get 5 inches of snow out of nowhere last night.
Yeah. It has been nice, but it's been very cool here. It was in the 50s, low 50s today. And it's just been really windy.
We had 70 degrees on Sunday, 28 and snow all last night.
We had 80 degrees Sunday for St. Patrick's Day parades. And people out in shorts and T-shirts getting sunburned and stuff being out there. And then that front came through about 1 o'clock in the morning. And it was a 40-degree temperature shift from Sunday to Monday morning. So, yeah. Yeah. I hear you, Calvin. It's even colder north of us. So, anyway, I went to the 96 Draft Fest, and that's the draft that infamously we took Alex Molden instead of Eddie George. And Eddie George was doing the same kind of slide that Warren Sapp did in '95. And you could see the fans back then. The draft was on a Saturday and a Sunday, so that's probably why I came in town. But you could see the fans getting more and more excited. The closer Eddie George was coming, every time somebody else would take him, he'd drop another slot. And the Saints were picking, I don't know, somewhere in the 20s, I think. May have been the low teens. And when the Saints were up on the clock, the fans are chanting, Eddie George, Eddie, 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 that whole thing. And they take Alex Molden. And you could have sworn somebody died. And it was dead silent Mike Detillier was trying to kind of spin it because WWL was hosting this, trying to spin it. Well, he need help in the secondary. He's a good player. He can do this. He can do that. And people just started filing out of the room like a funeral. And I would say there was a good 300 to 400 people in that tent area then. And within 10, 15 minutes, there was maybe 12. It's that empty. It was that empty. And that was probably the worst experience I ever had at a draft fest. I mean, it was awful. So I've been to several others. I took Matt to one when he was a little kid and stuff like that. But that's probably the most memorable one. I wasn't there for the Ricky Williams one. The Ricky Williams one, I just had to listen to the radio because I had, we had 3 kids. No, 2 kids. We had 2 kids, 2 babies. Matthew was almost 4. And I think Allison was a year and a half, maybe. So, yeah. So, no, she just turned a year because she was born in 98. So, she just turned a year. So, I wasn't going to a draft fest that night. No. And then once they moved to prime time, it was I couldn't make those draft fest parties anymore. Just not possible. But so how you doing, Bob? I mean, I just start telling these stories, and I don't even ask you how you doing.
Yeah, no, it's good. This and Bayou Blitz tomorrow will be my last shows for a couple of weeks because we'll be heading out on the Go Black and Gold charity fan cruise. Flying down to Jacksonville next week, docking out of there, and going to hang out in the Bahamas with Courtney Roby, Ty Hughes, Michael Lewis. Delvin Bro, if he can make it. There's going to be a new addition to the Bro family within days, into April. So I don't know if he's going to make it this year, but we're still looking for. We had such a blast last year. I promo this thing every single week. We do the Bayou Blitz, where we're partnered up with Get Checked or Check Out, who sponsors this thing for the last Baker's dozen years. There's such great people involved. So we're looking forward to a great time.
Well, that's great. I forgot about that was coming up. I knew it was coming up soon, but I forgot it was coming up this soon. So 2 weeks, huh?
We'll be leaving next week and then gone from the 26th through the 30th or 31st.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like 10 days. Okay.
No, I wish.
Yeah.
Well, if we're not allowed back in the country, it might be more than 10 days. You never know.
Steam in a circle out there in the Bahamas. I hear you. Oh, yeah. We're planning on going to the Hall of Fame for Drew Brees. So I'm kind of saving my nickels for that right now. Mm-hmm. And I think we got one other thing we have to do. I know my middle daughter's got to go to Italy for a wedding. So
wow.
Yeah. And they booked the tickets last night, and they're booking the hotel. They're going through a travel agent, and it's a friend of theirs who's getting married in Italy. So they're going to stay outside the Vatican City, and they're going to do a little sightseeing while they're there. So she's really, really excited. So she loves the show Friends, and she's like, yeah, it's like the Friends trip when they go to Ross's wedding in England,
London, yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah, it's that same kind of thing. It's a whole group of them that are going. So yeah, they got a bulk discount and everything else. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna sleep on a plane. I'm like, yeah, good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And she's coming back on a Saturday. And I said, good, because you're going to have to spend all day Sunday trying to get your body clock back to normal. Because they're going to be there for a week. And it's I don't think she's really understands what jet lag is. Because she's never been out of the country. And this is going to be some interesting jet lag when she comes back. She's going to have the time of her life, but she's not going to make it to work on Monday. I know she's not. I know my daughter. So anyway, so we have a lot of trips in mind, but I'm glad you're going to have a good time on this trip. And, those of you who have been watching the Bayou Blitz and hear Bob talk about this promo, They do it every year. Really try and save you money and do this because it's really, aside from the cruise, it's a really good cause. It's just you get a chance to meet Saints players, their families, and so forth. I mean, Bob's been talking about it forever, but I mean, it's just something special, if you want to go on a cruise, a Saints cruise with Saints fans and Saints players, this is the kind of cruise to go on.
Oh God! I mean, yeah, and it's so special. Watching our son Will hang out with Delvin, comparing soccer moves to defensive back moves, and stances, and we got real close, with Courtney and his wife Crystal and their two daughters. A lot of joking around with them. Hung out after dinner one night. We all went to the arcade on the ship, together, and just let the kids play video games while we hung out and talked. These are the kind of things that you can't really do, with professional athletes of any sport. With really any other event, you have designated times for pictures and autographs, but you never get to hang out with them and get to know them, as people, and just eat meals together, hang out on the beach together, and just basically it feels like a family vacation with Saints fans and Saints players, and you can't beat the experience.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of getting to see Saints players outside of a Saints football game, this past weekend, the Savannah Bananas played in the Superdome. And for those of you who don't know, the Savannah Bananas are kind of like the baseball equivalent of the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
They do tricks with the ball, and it's a whole family thing. And they play some poor team. It's supposed to be a baseball game, but they're goofing around, hidden balls, two balls being out there and stuff like that. Well, Tyler Shuck came out there for the game, and I'm telling you, this thing was sold out in the Superdome, not the Smoothie King, the Superdome. For 2 consecutive nights. And Tyler Shuck came out there the first night, and they suddenly switched to football formation. Tyler Shuck takes off his Saints jersey. He's got a Savannah Bananas jersey with number 6 on it, and he threw a touchdown pass so they could score. So I don't know who is teaching Tyler Shuck what to do with Saints fans and in New Orleans, but whoever this is, they deserve an Oscar or a gold medal or something, because if you want to endear yourself to this fan base, do the things that Tyler Shuck is doing. He was in a Mardi Gras parade. He's been in town, I think, more than anybody else. Yeah. He was there. He took the offensive line out for dinner, including, I'm sorry, I'm still saying ATN. But
yeah,
I'm not saying HN because I'm sorry. I've been down the bayou. I've lived 15 years in Lafayette. I went to school with someone named ATN as a first name. It's I've never heard it pronounced that, but you can say it however you want. I'm not. Tony Dorsett went from Tony Dorsett to Tony Dorsett. Joe Theismann went from Theismann to Theismann. So I'm not. He can say it the way he wants to. It's just that's the way I've always heard the word. But anyway, he took out his new offensive lineman and ATN out to dinner. Desi Vega or Mr. John's, one of those expensive steakhouses. The man is doing everything right to win the fans over. So if he does struggle, I think the fans will just. They'll be fine with it. It's like, okay, yeah, it's a second-year player. He's going to have his down things. I mean, it's just, yeah, you're right, Calvin. It does. It does. It's just one of these things that I think he just is figuring out a way to become part of this city, and he will be part of the new faces in New Orleans because a lot of old faces are leaving.
And I know we're about to talk about that in a minute, but and down the stretch of last season, we all talked about yeah, the team finished 6-11,
Mhm.
but it was one of the most exciting 6-11 feels that we've been a part of for quite some time. Because this team just had the feel of a franchise trending in an upward direction, and that starts with your quarterback.
Mhm.
And those of us with a reasonable amount of intelligence realize that Tyler Shuck is going to have his struggles on the field. But what he and his team of people are doing from a PR aspect, they're doing exactly what Drew Brees and Sean Payton always said, that if you love New Orleans is going to love you right back. And he is taking the anti Derek Carr approach
Yeah,
to
Calvin's
public
exactly right.
relations. Yeah.
Yeah, Calvin's exactly right. I mean, yeah, and his wife just had a baby. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not like he can sit there and say, yeah, well, I can't really do that much. My wife just had a baby. I got to do this. I got to do that. No, he's out there with Savannah Bananas throwing touchdown passes. Drew Brees, by the way, speaking of Brees, he was there the next night hitting home
Yep.
runs.
Yeah.
So of course, Brees, the competitiveness in him. Oh, it's a fun game. Yeah, your ass is a fun game. Watch this. That kind of thing. That's how Drew is. But yeah, you can't help but like this kid. You really can't right now. I mean, I am a Tyler Shuck fan. I was excited when they got him, just because it was an attempt now to get off the quarterback carousel. I'm hoping that he is the answer. I am hoping that what we saw at the end of last year is the gateway to, greatness out of him. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to this season. I think the fans are.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this free agency period just now where they sign the top guard in free agency. My dad, in fact, flew back from Orlando. He went to go meet my brother and his family out in Orlando. And there was a guy from Buffalo in the airport, and he was talking with him about him. And the guy from Buffalo says, listen, we could only pay either the center or the guard. We chose to pay the center, but the guard that you guys got is really, really good. It's a fan. Take it for what it's worth.
Right.
But still, I mean, he gives you things to be excited about. It's just, I'm really excited about this. So my question to you then, Bob, tonight is, are the Saints done making moves, or do you think there are more moves to be made? And what other holes do you think this team has? I mean, they do have holes, but what other holes do you think this team has? And are they going to fill it in free agency, or are they going to wait till the draft?
As far as the major moves, I think that we're done. We'll see them sign position fillers. Like they signed Ty Chandler today, the backup running back from the Minnesota Vikings, and obviously that's to compete for depth and probably as a kickoff returner, because Ty was very good at doing that. But I mean, if you're waiting for them to make a trade for AJ Brown, you'll be waiting. Don't hold your breath, because you'll be waiting a long time. I can see them bringing in a couple, one or two wide receivers. I can see them bringing in a couple, one or two wide receivers, a Cedric Wilson, Dante Pettis kind of guy.
Oh man, don't say those names.
Well, I say kind of guy. And I think it's telling that Pettis is still a free agent. Wilson is a free agent again. But maybe a Tim Patrick, a Sterling Shepard, a veteran that could help along the young guys. But the remaining holes that they have, and there are a couple glaring ones, at least in my opinion, they're going to look to fill through the draft. And I think that was their strategy the whole time. Hey, we need a running back. We can do that in free agency. Boom. Hey, we desperately need a guard. We can do that in free agency. Boom. Surprised, I think, all of us with the tight end signing, which is a need, but we figured they'd ignore it like they always do. And they took care of that. Edge rusher still jumps out to me. Number 3 corner still jumps out to me. And a wide receiver that could be a 2 or a 3, depending on where you think Bailey fits in. Also, those are the 3 biggest needs to me, assuming that Cesar Ruiz is still alive and well. Not that I wish death on him, but I wish him. I wish his departure, but not death. There's a difference.
Yeah, or at least back up. Swing center, swing guard. I'd like to get another lineman in here, another starting quality offensive lineman in here. Calvin mentioned Denver gave up a 1 and a 3 and swap 4s with Miami for Waddle. That's a pretty steep price. I mean, he's 27 years old, so you're still getting him in his prime. And Denver does need, as much as Sean Payton likes to say, I like the room that we have. They really are just Cortland Sutton's backups. That's basically what you got. It's ex-Saints. Little Jordan Humphreys is out there, and they got Pat, somebody they just drafted last year. What was his name?
Tony Franklin, or Pat, maybe something Franklin.
Yeah, no, Tony Franklin was a kicker.
Yeah, you're right. That's why I stopped myself with a bare foot.
Yeah, with 1 foot.
And they have Marvin Mims too. Great returner, good receiver. Waddle certainly upgrades Denver's receiving core. And you're right, he's in his prime, but as he's been in his prime, he's never been worth and I know he was a first-round pick, but he's never been played up to first-round pick status.
No, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Given that AJ Brown apparently is still on the trade market, and I believe that Philly is going to end up moving him because they just signed Hollywood Brown today. If you're giving up essentially a first and a third for Jaylen Waddle, what the hell is a team going to have to give up for A.J. Brown? So I repeat, Saints fans, A.J. Brown is not going to be a New Orleans Saint. He is simply not.
Yeah. You were close. It's Troy Franklin, not Tony Franklin. Tony Franklin was the guy who kicked with 1 bare foot. One of the last of the kickers who did that. And,
him and Rich Carlos, yep.
Yeah, there's a great Twitter account I like to follow, Super 70 Sports. And he says, imagine how much better Tony Franklin would be if he just kicked with his shoe like normal people.
Yeah.
Then he has this incredible love affair, which I don't blame him because I do too, for Reggie Roby and his sky-high punts he used to lay out back in the day. But yeah, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant is the guy they drafted last year, I think, and he is one of those guys. Yeah, he was drafted last year in the 3rd round because that was a name I'd seen come up quite a few times in my mock drafts, and Marvin Mims, Lil Jordan Humphreys, and Michael Bandy. So yeah, it's Cortland Sutton, and a bunch of backups really, and. Getting Waddle, I understand the thinking, but I think they overpaid. Especially for a 1st-round pick. You gave up a 1st and a 3rd, and you swapped 4th, so you moved up, but you still gave up a 1st and a 3rd. I probably would have given up a 2nd, but they wouldn't have moved him for anything less.
Right.
But what's that, Galvin? What Flintstone full kicking barefoot? Yeah, there was 2 of them. Yeah, I forgot about Carlos, but yeah, they used to kick. And then you had he was one of the last straight on kickers because he went back.
Mark Mosley.
Mark Mosley would wear like 4 pairs of socks under his cleat, so he had one shoe was like a size 7. and then the other was like a size 10 or 11 because he had so many socks on because it was his kicking foot. So yeah, kickers are weird.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they really are. But yeah, and then we didn't even mention, that we signed. You talked about the kick returner from Minnesota. We signed their punter away. So we, all the complaining we've done for, I think ever since they let Thomas Morstead go, all the complaining we did about all the punters, looks like they got a great punter now. So the kicking game should be better. I'd still like to see some competition come in for Charlie Smythe. Even though it is St. Patrick's Day and he's an Irishman, I still want to see some competition for you because I don't want to go into the season thinking, oh yeah, we got kicker position sewed up, because we don't. So yeah, upgrading the returner, upgrading the punter, those are two holes that needed to be filled. I think, we could use a few more special teams kind of guys in the draft. That's probably mostly day 3 picks looking to be special teams players, probably a linebacker out there, things like that. But, I agree with you. I think edge rusher and defensive tackle are 2 gaping holes. Cam Jordan's getting a reality check right now. So I don't know if he is going to come back. But I don't think he has much choice because he's looking for a multi-year deal that's going to pay him roughly $12 million a year because he's looking for the kind of check that Demario Davis got, and he's not going to get that. No one's going to give that to him. I think the Saints are pretty much, their attitude is, we'll give you a 1-year deal and we'll see where we are next year with you. But we're not doing legacy deals anymore. In fact, they've done this whole free agency period. They've really kind of changed the way they operate completely. I don't know if you've been noticing this, Bob, but the free agents that they brought in, they have signed to normal kind of deals.
Yes.
Money up front. There's no pushing it back with ghost years and things like that. It's almost like they realize they're out of cap hell and the salary cap's going to grow even more. So their attitude is, we're going to be able to we're going to be able to sign people and we'll just let these contracts expire depending on how good they still are. We're not going to try and do a million restructures and ghost years and all these other things. Do you have a take on that?
No, I completely agree, and I'm excited for it, and it actually leaves them more room for flexibility. I'll use Edwards' contract as an example. Edwards is only going to count about $6.5 million against the salary cap this year. Now that number jumps to $20 million the next 2 years. However, with no voided years added on to the contract as of now, that leaves them additional flexibility for restructures. So, like you said, if he's good, then okay, you're right on the table for a restructure. We'll add voided years to your contract, kind of spread out that $40 million over the next 2 years. If you suck, then we'll take the one-time salary cap hit of dead money, cut your ass and start all over. Whereas if they have built that contract from the start with voided years, they're stuck for basically looking at Carr's contract, although that wasn't as bad as a lot of people made it out to be, because of the voided years added on. They were essentially stuck with his salary for 3 years, whether he was on the team or not.
Yeah. His contract actually was pretty much set for an average starter in the NFL, average 4-year starter. And that was the problem, because you were stuck with him for 3 years. You had no escape clause if the guy came here and stunk, or he came here and he wasn't a good fit. And that was really the problem with Carr. Carr's contract. The problem with Carr was his personality and so forth, but his contract, that was the problem. So I think I agree with you. Going back to what you said earlier about that they're not going to make any major moves. I think they're kind of focused right now on the draft. But when you mentioned receivers earlier, one receiver that I was interested in that's still out there, and I don't know if there's medical reasons for him still being out there, but Juwan Jennings, he seems like he's a guy that would fit this offense perfectly for what they're looking for. He's not a starting X receiver, which is what they need, the guy who can play the X, but he is a guy who can be worked into the rotation and would kind of be a safety net for, because we have a box of chocolates right now at receiving. We saw a little bit from Vele to give us confidence that this guy might be pretty solid, but I still have him no better than a slot receiver. I do not have him as a starter. But the other guys, Trey Palmer, which we know what he did in Tampa, but we haven't seen, no one's followed him that closely to know this. Jalen Polk, we don't know what he's going to be like.
Right.
He was kind of a bust at New England. So that's really a box of chocolate, those three. A guy that's kind of shown something, a guy that we've seen a couple of times in Tampa, and then a mystery. Okay. And my thing is, if Vele can't stay healthy and the other two guys end up being terrible, that's why they got let go from their previous teams. You have no safety. Even if you draft a guy, let's say they draft a Carnell Tate, or they draft, someone else like that, one of the top receivers in the draft, and I'm not going to run through all those names, but let's say they draft a guy. You're counting everything on that rookie, hoping that Olave can stay healthy for 16 games, which he hasn't done yet. I mean, he did miss a couple of games. He missed the last game of the season, too. And then Vele, who you're hoping he can play for 16 games and show you something. He hasn't done that yet. And I know the game's 17 games long. I know the season, but you only play 16 games. Just in case those people. Well, actually, it's a 17-game season. Yes, I know this. But yeah, and like Calvin said, Polk has done nothing. I mean, he was a second-round pick, and he was highly regarded. And yes, when he went to New England, he was in a bad situation with no quarterback, bad coaching. But I'm not trusting. Oh, well, we saved him from a bad organization that just went to the freaking Super Bowl the next year.
Yeah, right.
And Palmer, I agree with you. Palmer is wishful thinking. If we can get a couple games out of him, he could be a nicer, more productive version of Traquan Smith, maybe. You get a couple of, I know, just like me with hearing Pettis' name and stuff like that.
Right.
Traquan Smith, you'd rather not hear his name, but Traquan Smith always managed to turn it on nationally televised games. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen, and if Palmer can give me 2 or 3 games where he's just looks like, oh my God, we stole him from Tampa, and then we never hear from him again, I'll be fine with that, But and then we don't even talk about Bub Memes. That guy's never stayed healthy. He probably will never, and I hate to say this, but he probably will never amount to anything. I doubt he even makes the team this year. But if they get enough bodies in there, my point is, I want as many bodies as I can get. Quality bodies that I can get, so I never see Dante Pettis out there. I don't have to rely on Mason Tipton on third down to save me. I'm not digging out that kid Bell, for example, that caught the last touchdown pass in the Atlanta game. I just don't. I don't want to have to deal with that.
While I agree with everything you just said about every single player that you just said it about. And I could certainly understand the apprehension, and I'm right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the flip side of that coin and go a glass half full. That Olave is coming off his most productive season.
Yes.
Bub showed some signs of being a competent possession receiver before he got hurt 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Palmer, Palmer for his entire short career has been. You compared him to Traquan Smith. I'm going to say more like a more productive Joseph Morgan, and I know that's reaching back a few years.
Yeah.
Devery Henderson on a good day. The kind of guy, he doesn't give you a lot route wise, but he'll take the top off a defense if they're not paying attention. And Polk, and you've done the draft show with Brendan and I the last few years. I was a huge fan of all three of those Washington Husky receivers.
Yeah.
McMillan, who went to Tampa, obviously Adunze, and Polk. Polk was a second-round draft choice for a reason, and the Saints thought highly enough about him to trade him, knowing he was going to miss all of last year for a reason. So there's something that he brings that they love a lot. Having said all that, and I keep telling people, hey, don't forget about Jalen Polk. Don't forget about Jalen Polk. And I'll stand by that. But I also agree with what you, and I believe it was Calvin that said that he's done absolutely nothing as a pro, because he hasn't. And you can't not go into this draft thinking I'm going to get another healthy. And I could say, I agree with you. If I get 15 or 16 games from you, I consider that a full season.
Yeah.
But you can't bank on Olave giving that to you again, because he's only done it once. You can't bank on Polk being the guy that you fell in love with, because he hasn't been that yet. You can't bank on Vele. Is Vele the guy that he was for 4 or 5 games when they finally started to use him, or the invisible guy that they used before that we didn't see anything of? We saw 1 target a game, literally 1 target a game. So you can't bank on all that at the receiving core without getting, if not a first-round draft choice, then at least a day 2 pick, to bring in and contribute to this receiving core.
Absolutely. I mean, my attitude is, at worst, you're cutting a good player. I want to be in that position where our receiving core is so deep and so strong that if I'm cutting a guy, say a Jalen Polk, and I'm not saying we're cutting him or anything like that, but if I'm cutting a guy because I think he can't make this team because my other receivers are so much better, that's a great position to be in. So,
and the one this team hasn't been in for a long time.
Oh, I mean, even in Sean Payton's prime, where you had 4, maybe 5 receivers deep, and I'm talking about when you had Colston, you had Henderson, Thomas, and Meacham. Not Thomas. I'm sorry, Moore and Meacham. You had those 4 as your starters. We still didn't have so much depth that, we let quality receivers go. And that was probably Sean Payton's best crew overall, those 4. I mean, you won a Super Bowl with them. So, yeah, I want to be in that position where I'm bringing in receivers. And I've got 2 that I've done in these mock drafts I've done so far. It's hard to get Chris Bell from Louisville. It's really hard because these mock drafts have him going in the first round, the bottom half of the first round. Yeah. But it's hard for me to get him. I've only had 1 mock draft come up to me where I was able to grab him in the second round. I had traded with the Jets, so I had the 33rd pick, and that's how I was able to get Chris Bell. But I mean, the receivers that keep coming up to me later in the draft, obviously Cornell Tate sometimes falls to me at 8, but Denzel Boston in the second round. Occasionally Casey Concepcion, Chris Mazzell, and there's one other in there. I'm trying to find who it was. I think it's Makai Lemon. Makai Lemon's the other one.
Uh,
It usually comes to me
it's
around 42.
the other one. I'm getting the other USC receiver, Jacoby
Okay.
Lane, falling
Okay.
to me there. Occasionally, Surratt. That's
Surratt's
if
always there in the
Omar.
third. I can get him in the
Yeah.
third, you know. So yes, Calvin, that's where I'm going with this. I'm all about doubling up, picking receivers in the draft. I'm about taking one in rounds 1 or 2, depending on how the first round falls.
Mhm.
Okay. I get a lot of offers for the eighth pick in these mock drafts. Some of them are ridiculous. I mean, people giving me half their draft, talking about Draft Fest and Ricky Williams. People giving me like insane amounts of picks to get up to 8, especially if one of the pass rushers falls to me at 8. Jordan Love, Jordan. I keep wanting to call him Jordan Love, and it's not.
Same.
Jeremiah
Yeah.
Love. Jeremiah Love's at 8. Or the safety from Ohio State is there. Downs is at 8. Then I get some crazy offers for teams. And the Jets offered me in one mock the 16th overall pick and the 33rd pick. And I think I got one other pick for them. I was kind of swapped. I think I gave them my 190th pick, and I got one in the top 100 anyway from the Jets. So, I like getting those extra picks because I do. I want to double up. I want to double up on receivers. So, I mean, I'm looking at, say Chris Bell, if I grab him, and for some reason, Malachi Fields is always falling in the draft.
Yes.
And I don't know if he's slow for them, and that's why he's there. I don't believe he will fall that far in the draft.
No,
but,
I agree.
I can get Fields late in the third round pick, and it's insane. So yeah, my thing is though, Calvin, I do want to double up on receivers. So that's my attitude. And I excuse it by saying, okay, one of these guys can be my kick returner.
If say, and I kind of come in with that same sort of philosophy. I'm looking at not that I would be necessarily against a Carnell Tate, who I love, or even a Jordan Tyson, who I love his ability. His fragility scares me.
Yes.
But I think edge rusher, if one of the top edge rushers are there at 8, let me preface that. If one of the top edge rushers are there at 8, I take that, knowing that I'm going to get a receiver in the second or third round. Now, if I probably go second to get the box checked off as quick as possible. Absolutely. And then I find myself looking to double up on receiver early in day 3. You have multiple picks in round 4. I'm looking at a kid I love is the Ole Miss wide receiver, Stribling. Zachariah Branch. You want to talk about someone who's going to be a kick returner, punt returner too. Yeah. He's not a big guy, but if you get your bigger bodied guy in day 2, you can look for that speed in day 3. Eric McAllister, Skylar Bell from UConn, Cyrus Allen from Cincinnati. And like you said, if Malachi Fields falls into day 3, he's going to be off the board real quick. So yeah. I'm in full, and this is it's the simple strategy of building around your young quarterback 101. You got your guard to protect him. You got your running back to provide balance. You gave him another receiving tight end. Now you got to fill up that wide receiver room. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, another guy that falls in a lot of the drafts is Eric McAllister from TCU. I see him a day 3 pick, and it's one of those. He's a fast guy, but he's a guy who's more quick than fast. He's not a burner. He's not going to run a 40-yard dash in 4.3 seconds, something like that. He's more of a 4 or 5 guy. But it's somebody. My attitude, and it's also TCU didn't have the most advanced offense for him to run a lot of complicated routes. So he's going to be a guy that you're going to have to work and develop a little bit. But my attitude just basically is, look, he's a body, and he's a day 3 pick. He's got size. You can't coach size. If you can turn him into somebody who can be a possession receiver or somebody who can catch in traffic and things like that, you've got something. You've got somebody who can go out there and actually produce. I'm not saying that's who I want to draft, but it's just somebody who's out there that you can look at. So, let me see what's Hemisphere saying. Alan and Bob, do you see the Saints really looking at edge rusher with the 8th pick? Why have they not signed Cam Jordan, who is connected to the Chiefs? I don't believe Cam Jordan's really connected to the Chiefs. I think that's Cam Jordan's camp.
And Chris Jones, because they're friends.
Yes. And some of the talking heads, some of the quote unquote insiders who are getting the scoop from agents are putting that out there. I think the problem with Cam Jordan is his age. Honestly, no one wants to give him a multi-year contract. Everyone is probably offering him a 1-year deal, and basically saying, let's see where we are in a year from now. We like the fact that you got 10.5 sacks. We recognize that you're a potential Hall of Famer, but we're not giving you $12 million a year in a 3-year deal so you can have your golden parachute to retire. We're just not doing that. And I think that's what Cam Jordan is finding out. So the Saints are just playing the waiting game. They're like, yeah, you can keep shopping. Let us know what you get. This is what we have on the table for you. Probably 1 year, $12 million, and we appreciate all that you've done. We are making business decisions to build a young team, a new team, and this is just our direction, and we would love to have you, but you're not the future anymore. So I think that's just the basic, the brutal reality, the business side of this. And I think Cam's finding out from the rest of the league, that's kind of how they see him too. You're not the piece that we need to get over the hump. You're kind of a Von Bell, a pass rush specialist who can play the run, but we're not looking at you to be, a starter. So I hate to say that because
right. But you called it a reality check, and Cam himself has admitted that it's a bit. This business is a bitter pill to swallow sometimes because he's seen friends, football friends, come in and out of New Orleans, and he's sad to see him leave, and now he's on the other side of that door a little bit, but especially at edge rusher. You see that a lot, and we've seen that a lot in recent years. There's the one guy, I cannot remember his name. I could close my eyes and picture him on the field because he's played for like 5 different teams, but I cannot remember his name. But you're seeing that play out with Leonard Floyd right now, who's 34. You mentioned Von Miller. Von has bounced around the last 4 or 5 years. And Cam might be in that. That's one of them. But the other guy, he wore a number in the 50s. Played for the Ravens. I think a stint with the Falcons. A couple stints with the Sea Hags. I cannot remember his name. If I heard it, I'd know.
Okay. Are you talking about oh shoot. Hang on.
See?
Hang on. I know who he is. He's been around forever.
Yeah. Yeah, like a dozen years or more.
Yeah, hang on. Where was he this past year? He was with the Rams. He's another one.
And I mean, this guy's hovering around 100 career sacks too. Has had a couple 10 sack a year seasons, but has been getting signed to a series of 1-year contracts. And these contract signings usually don't come until after the draft, when, okay, we didn't get an edge rusher as high as what we wanted to. We got one in day 2 or day 3 that we really like, but we need a proven commodity here. Boom. That's your Cam Jordan. That's your Von Miller. That's your Leonard Floyd. Cam might actually have to wait until the draft, after the draft, before he's signed by anyone, including New Orleans.
Oh, I can't believe I cannot find this guy's name because I've heard it forever. It's like every time I hear his name, I'm like, are you serious? This guy's still in the league?
Right, but still doing it. He has 6-8 sacks a year in a rotational basis.
It's not. I feel like I'm going through every year of Seattle's defense to try and find this clown. It's not clowning. I know that, but he has played with Philadelphia. He's been like on 12 different teams, and I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm gonna go back a little ways then, because I know he's been around at least as long as Cam.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to 2013 or 2015, see if I can find him on that team. Carlos Dunlop keeps popping up in every single one. It's not who it is, though. I know who it is.
Right. Was it 2021 or 22 when the Ravens played the Saints in the Superdome on a Monday night? Because he was on the Ravens then. See, I'm starting to narrow it down in my head. Sorry about the dead air, folks, but neither Alan or I will sleep until we know this.
Nuts. It's driving me nuts because it's got to be. Because I know who it is. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, when the Ravens played in New Orleans Monday night, the last time that they played, whatever year that was it 20? I want to say it was 22. He was on the Ravens roster then because he had a sack that night.
Come on.
Yeah, check the 2022 Ravens roster.
Okay, I'm gonna check the 2022 because he's not on this one here. And it's driving me nuts because I know this guy. Because he's a mercenary. He's a mercenary.
But again, once edge rushers hit 32, 33 years old, that's what they become.
That's the thing. He's still out there. Somebody signs him for a year, and I hear his name get called out. I'm like, dude, this guy's still out there playing. Calais Campbell's on that team.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Jason Pierre-Paul, Marcus Peters, Roquan Smith was on it. As soon as I see his name, I'm gonna say that's who it is. It's not Von Miller. No, it's not Von Miller. It's somebody who has been on Seattle's defense back in the Legion of Boom days and has been around for a long, long time. He's got like two initials. I don't see him on it. He's got two initials for a first name. It's like KJ. God, I can't believe I can't remember this dude's name.
And like you said, he was on one of the Legion of Boom, the Legion of Boom era, not that Super Bowl winning team, but a couple of years after.
He's like a linebacker, edge rusher.
Yeah.
It's like KJ Wright or something like that.
It isn't him, but he played with those teams.
Yeah, and it's not Byron Scott either. It's not Biscuit. It's not Bennett. Biscuit. Good Lord, I'm going back to the Buffalo era. My son would shout this name at me in no time. All right, I can't find his ass. It'll come to me in the middle of the night. I'll pop up out of my sleep and go, "That's who it is." You know. But yeah, he's been around forever. And he played with Seattle. He was at Baltimore. He's been on the Rams. It's like every Super Bowl team picks him up at some point or puts him on his defense at some point to try and get over the hump because that's what he's good for. And Cam's not that kind of player, unfortunately. Cam is a guy who works well in a system. He has skills still. He has the ability, but he's not that... I don't know how to explain it. He's just not that guy you pick out and just put him on another team and he is going to make the plays. But yeah, it'll come to me in a minute. But go back and look at Seattle linebackers / edge rush. And that's who this guy is. And I can see his number. It's 50 something. He's somebody. Yeah, he's somebody. I know who it is. As soon as I see his name, that's who it's going to be. But yeah, so my thing, there it is, Bobby Wagner.
That's middle linebacker, though. He's still out there, by the way.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner is the guy I was thinking of. But there's another. I know there's somebody else out there too. But yeah, Bobby Wagner was one I kept thinking about. But yeah, KJ Wright's another guy. It's been out there forever and everything else. So
Hassan Reddick is a free agent again.
Yeah, Hassan Reddick, going back in time when we had that argument. And the funny thing is, Hassan Reddick would work in his defense now.
I work better than he would have been. Yeah.
Then he would have been under Dennis Allen's defense.
Right.
And that was our argument. I kept saying, I get it. He's got but you can't play him you can't put his hand in the dirt and have him go against a 300-something pound defensive tackle from a 3-point stance. He cannot do that. He's got to be able to roam and be in a stand-up position where he can just blitz. So my question to you then, and going back to what we were talking about, everyone does. You know, he says Riddick went belly up with the Falcons. Everybody does. The quote of the year will always be some Falcons offensive lineman got let go. And some Falcons fan, basically treated him like how we view Cesar Ruiz or Penning or any of the players we don't like. Yeah, thank God you're gone. He says, well, yeah, good luck with that clown show you got over there in Atlanta. So Kevin Williams. Is Kevin Williams who you're thinking of?
No.
Okay.
That's the big defensive tackle.
That was that ex-Viking. But so my thing is, if Sonny Styles is there at 8 somehow, are you grabbing him as your linebacker / edge rusher? Maybe.
I love Sonny Styles, but he's more of a Demario Davis than a Chase Young.
I think so too. So I mean, it fills a hole.
Yeah,
I think it fills a hole that you've got from losing Demario Davis.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, and I know you agree with me, moving so quickly to bring Caden Ellis back was an extremely decisive move on the Saints' part. But as much as I like Ellis, and I think Ellis will do well in this defense, he's not DeMario. He's not even a DeMario. He's not even a DeMario from last year, let alone a DeMario in his prime. Danny Stutzman is not that player either, as much as we both like Stutzman. Pete Werner is what Pete Werner is. He's a 2-down linebacker.
Look, I have Stutzman taking Pete Werner's place, not DeMario's place.
So do I. And Ellis can do that to a certain extent. Sonny Styles would be your athlete. Yeah. So if you told me Sonny Styles is there at 8 and David Bailey and Ruben Bain are gone, then yeah, I think basically what you're asking me, would I pick Sonny Styles or a wide receiver?
Yeah.
I pick Sonny Styles. Because there are no more Sonny Styleses in this draft. There are other receivers in this draft.
Okay, Justin Houston's a name that people
Yes.
throw out.
Yes.
That's who it is, Justin Houston?
Or at least one of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and we mentioned that Ty Chandler got signed, Michael. Yeah, we mentioned that at the top of the show. Yeah, as a kick returner, probably.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, my thing is, I think there's only a handful of defensive players that would be worth the 8th overall pick. Styles is one of them. The 3 edge rushers, Bain, Texas Tech kid, and Reese, the Ohio State guy. I think Reese is gone in the top 4. Personally, he's not sliding to 8. But you've got those 3 edge rushers, Downs and Styles. Those are my 6 of the 8 possible picks that I would have at 8. I would take any of those guys at 8.
What about the LSU corner? Because we're hearing his name a lot.
We would break a record, honestly, by doing that, because in the 60 years now that the Saints have been in existence, they have never taken an LSU player in the first round. So that would break a trend. I don't know. I don't want to take a corner in the first round, honestly.
Same.
Because you've got 2 young guys, outside corners that you're playing right now. Are you going to try and kick one of those guys to slot corner now if you draft a guy in the first round? Maybe not in 2026, but at least by 2027, you got to make that decision.
Right.
I am for going to find another Quincy Riley in the 3rd round. Yeah, and that's how I feel. Same with you, Calvin. Bain, Bailey, Reese, Downs, of Styles at 8. I mean, that's basically it. That's the guys. Yeah, I just don't. Ellis, I look at Ellis as a situational pass rusher when we need him to. Need him to be. You're kind of rotating him with. Believe it or not, you're rotating him with. Oh shoot. Not Young, the other pass rusher, Granderson. You're rotating him with Granderson. I think Ellis, you're kind of using him more as a spy, maybe on quarterback. You're kind of you're blitzing him occasionally. He's not a DeMario Davis. He's not really a weak side linebacker. He's more of a strong side linebacker and edge rusher. DeMario, you can't replace his leadership. So that's my big loss with him. I just feel like I'm not taking a corner in round 1. I'm taking a corner later on, because the only other position I am hearing that could be a possibility in the first round, but not at 8, is a defensive tackle, which is something else they need, a defensive tackle.
Yeah, and and you and I have been calling for that for well over a year now. Give us a fat ass in the middle.
You got the Georgia defensive tackle is one of your top guys. Let me pull his name up just so I'm saying it right. Where is he? Christian Miller is rated as one of the top defensive tackles. I'm just looking for a big, solid body in there who can take out double teams and can push the middle of the pocket. That's my big thing. Yeah, I know, Calvin. It's like my tight end. I've been calling for a tight end forever. But and there's another one in there too. Caleb Banks' name comes up a lot from Florida. The kid from Alabama, Not in the first round, obviously, but the kid from Alabama, Joshua Joseph, sometimes comes up. You see his name pop up, but he's more of a five technique guy. He's a guy that you basically have a better version of Joshua Joseph's with the kid we got from Clemson 3 years ago. Yeah, Brian Brzee. Where is he? Dominic Orange as a name I see come up a few times with the Saints. Where's the kid from Alabama? Caden Curry. Although he's not big enough for me. I'm looking for a really fat ass like a Darrell Jackson. Where's the Alabama kid? Come on, he can't be this low. Yeah, Tim Keenan. 6'1", 327. And the reason why he's so low is because he's short. He's 6'1". If he was 6'3" or bigger, he'd probably be up at the second or third round at best. This guy's now a day 3 pick. But yeah, just somebody in there, who you can get in, just high up blockers. So Brzee can get the one-on-one blocking and can shut down the run in the middle because believe it or not, that's really what you would miss with Cam Jordan. Not so much the pass rushing, but you would miss his run defense. Hemisphere asks, is it time that Alvin Kamara is moving on?
The time is coming.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be 2026. I understand the question, understand the concern, for you huge Kamara fans. They didn't sign Travis Etienne to be a number 2 back. Kamara knows that. And I've said this before, it feels like every single year that Alvin Kamara has been a Saint, either Ian Rappaport or Mike Florio or both, every offseason has said Kamara is going to be traded. The Saints need to move, mainly because those national guys have always wanted all the big names out of New Orleans, so that way they have no reason to talk about the Saints. But this is the first year that whatever calls the Saints are getting on Kamara, and they've probably gotten calls every single year because that's just what happens behind the scenes. Whatever calls they're getting for Kamara, I think that they're actually listening this time. But do I think Alvin Kamara is going to be a Saint in 2026? Yeah, I do. But for the first time in his career, it would not shock me if he wasn't. If Kamara gets traded, it'll happen before the draft. They'll get an offer for a round 3 choice or something like that, thinking, you know what, we like what we have in our backfield without Kamara. Bunch of young guys, Neal last year, Estimate played well. We got ATN to build the offense around. We get a round 3 pick, and I'm just spitballing here. We get a round 3 pick for Kamara. That's the best we're going to get. A team willing to eat half his remaining salary or whatever deal they work out. I'm not saying I think it's going to happen, but if it happens, that's how it's going to go down.
Yeah, my thing with Kamara is if you're moving on from Kamara, it's because you've already locked in his replacement, and whether that's ATN or you're planning on drafting a guy that's going to be his replacement and there's just no touches available for him, I think it's a mistake to put all your eggs in ATN's basket.
Agreed.
You need a running back by committee. Kendre Miller, as Calvin put, is got one injured foot out the door already. Devin Neal seems to be your third down back. And I'm not hanging a lot of hope on Estimate, although he did, do a lot for us at the end. I can't see Estimate being a guy that you're going to go to for 16 games.
No, he's a 4th back at best.
Yes, that's a guy. So, and Chandler, he's a kick returner. He's a gadget guy. You're really looking at, if you're bringing in say, and let's assume Jeremiah Love is off the table. If they trade Kamara right before the draft or like a day before the draft, I think that's a clear signal they're taking Jeremiah Love at 8. Or
I agree.
Do something to get
I've
him.
talked about that. Exactly.
Yeah. But if you're going to bring in, I don't know, a Nicholas Singleton, I'm going to throw his name out because he seems to be a lot like what Kamara does. Outside runner, good soft hands. If you're going to bring in a Desmond Claiborne, or it was Damon Claiborne, sorry, another guy who is a pass catching back, I don't know, just going through the list, and I'm picking him too because he runs a 4.3. I mean, Mike Washington from who everyone seems to love from Arkansas, 4.3 speed, 6'1", 223. You're bringing in a guy like that, you're going to make the move to get a guy like that, then Kamara's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I agree with you. I think Kamara, as of this time, Kamara is a guy who is still going to be on this roster because they don't really have his replacement yet. But he will be phased out. I think he will get the fewest touches of his Saints career based on who they're going to have on the roster this year. So I don't see. Well, and I don't feel like they're going to. Somebody says they're not going to draft Love. Well, I don't feel like they will because I don't think he's going to be there. But if they decide to go get him, these are the kind of moves they make to do that. It just excuse me. It's just one of those things. They've already phased out Taysom Hill. He's gone. It's just a question of when he's going to announce his retirement. Demario Davis is gone. Cam Jordan isn't on his way back anytime soon. So, all these old guys that people want to push out the door are getting pushed out the door, So my attitude is I don't think they're pushing anybody else out the door until they get the replacements on the team. So.
Right. And you can't because you want to win. You certainly showed a lot of progress down the stretch and you're trending in the right direction. The NFC South is more than there for the taking. For anybody that automatically assumes that Love is not in their plans, I say not so fast. The signing of ATN probably signaled that maybe they don't believe Love is going to be there, or they're planning on an ATN Kamara combination while they address another need. But you go back to 1998, and I know there's other examples, but this is the one that always pops into my head. The Minnesota Vikings at wide receiver had Chris Carter, future Hall of Famer, Jake Reed, perennial Pro Bowler. People forget about Jake Reed. He was a perennial Pro Bowler. Yeah. Well, some guy named Randy Moss fell to them. In the mid-teens or the 20s or early 20s, wherever they were drafted. You're not going to pass up a Randy Moss if he makes your entire offense better. If Jeremiah Love is there at 8, is Kellen Moore going to pass? And maybe he would. I don't know. If it's me making that pick, you know what? And you talked about Kamara being phased out and turning the page to the future. Even if Kamara wasn't going to be completely phased out this year, as you just said, you are very clearly turning the page to the future. There's no Demario Davis. There may not be any Cam Jordan. There's no Taysom Hill. You have to prepare for life after Alvin Kamara. This franchise has learned its life. They didn't prepare for life after Breeze. They didn't have a replacement lined up for Demario. They haven't had a replacement lined up for Cam. You now need to have a replacement lined up for Kamara, and Travis Etienne by himself isn't going to do it. You see Jeremiah Love there, and maybe you're the edge rusher or two you like are really gone. I'm drafting Jeremiah Love and let you figure out what I'm going to do offensively and stop me.
They drafted Deuce McAllister a year after they traded their entire draft, or 2 years after they traded their entire draft for Ricky Williams.
Yeah.
And Ricky Williams was gone within a year. They had the two of them on the same team in 2001. So my thing with Kamara, he hasn't been productive, but we also haven't used him the way you're supposed to use him. Kamara's not the guy you're running up the middle, okay? No. And that's the way Dennis Allen ran him. We're going to, hey, diddle, we're running Kamara up the middle. That's not Kamara's strong suit. So is he a declining player? Yeah, his age will say that, but at the same time, you didn't use him right. You're supposed to get this guy in space. Where are the swing passes? Where are the arrow routes and getting him out in space? Where the hell are the screen passes and pitch plays? They ran one screen to Kamara. Once you had Shuck in there against the Carolina Panthers, he's picked up 30 yards on a screen. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh my God, we have screen passes again. So my thing is, I think if they have a guy that they can run inside, like you had with Ingram and you had with Murray, DeMarcus Murray, I'm sorry, not DeMarcus, Latavius Murray. Sorry, I knew that. Latavius Murray. Then Kamara is more productive for you. Then Kamara, you can do things with him, but running him up the middle when the whole defense can key on him is not the way you make him productive. So I'm not ready to push him out the door yet and say, oh man, yeah, he's done. He's gone. My thing is, I think this will be the year they got to figure out, can we still do things with him like we think he can do for your offense? In other words, can we throw him passes in space?
Right.
Can we run screen plays? Can we run outside running plays? If you can do that with Kamara, then maybe you can see if he's still productive. Now, if you're running quick screens and bubble screens and Kamara's getting tackled consistently behind the line, even though he's got good blocking, then I can say, okay, he's done. Okay. Yes. And it's ready to ship him off. But I'm not ready to close that door yet unless I've got somebody out there. And I don't see Ty Chandler as that guy. I would see some of those running backs are just listed in the draft as being that guy or the guy that you could get to replace him. So I'm not ready to close the book on him, but it's very odd how quiet it's been around him. Usually you get workout videos or you get, his agility drills and things like that. Or, I'm getting back in shape because he did finish the season with an injury. Right. You see him doing it on a hip drop tackle too, but that's a whole nother topic altogether. But yeah, you're not getting that stuff out of there. So, it makes me wonder what's going on with him. So that's my take on Kamara right now. The rest of it, and this has kind of been the theme of the whole show. We're going to be a little patient because we have to see what they do in the draft before we can figure out what other holes that can come in. I think they should re-sign Cam Jordan for a 1-year deal. I think they should sign Juwan Jennings from the 49ers to back up these receivers. And I think, we should look at a defensive player, yes. One of those players I mentioned in the first round at 8. But, man, if Jordan Love is there, I got the card in my hand. I'm taking phone calls. You give me a shitload of picks between rounds 2 and 3, or at least in the top 100, I'll tear that card up and trade that pick. Yep. But other than that, I'm running up to the podium and giving him Jeremiah Love.
Yep.
Bob, what do you have coming up on the Bayou Blitz tomorrow night?
More free agency speculation, how it's going to affect the draft. I doubt we have any more clarification on Cam Jordan by then, but you never know. I think the primary topic is going to be how their free agency approach will affect their draft strategy, not just in round 1, but in rounds 2 or 3, kind of like we were, talking about tonight. And you know what? And we teased it with Kamara, but there are a couple other players on this Saints roster who could be moved for some draft picks. Nothing extravagant, mind you, but maybe a couple of day 3 picks. And Pete Werner, someone loves Kendre Miller's potential. Somebody like that. So, kind of the same theme as tonight. Tonight we were talking about potential free agency additions. We're going to talk about possible trades this team could make. Moving up, moving back in the draft, where they might do it. Topics like that.
It's funny that you mentioned that too, because one of the if they make a move, I could see them shipping off some of these defensive tackles they've got on the roster.
Yeah.
If they get that kid from Georgia, or they get a big body in there, Nathan Shepard could fill in a hole for some people. He was a productive player. That's somebody that could see them move, but that's more of a draft day kind of move, kind of like what they did back in 2006 with bringing in a couple guys. But yeah, if a guy feels like they're not going to get that big defensive tackle they thought they were going to get in the draft, it could be worth a day 3 pick. So anyway, check out the Bayou Blitz. Unfortunately, Bob will not be here for the next couple of weeks. For those of you who joined us late, he's going to be on that cruise with Saints players. Cruise for a cause. Am I saying that right?
Get checked. Get checked or check out, is the organization. The Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise is the name of the cruise itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Courtney Roby, Tyrone Hughes, Michael Lewis, and maybe Delvin Bro. And at least that I last got notified that around 70, 74, 75, cabins had been sold. So we're hoping for a last minute push. Listen, guys, we have our own section of the boat. We're hanging out with Saints players, their families. We're looking to take over the Bahamas. So there you
go. So Bob will not be here for the next couple of weeks. There will be no Bayou Blitz the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, I'll probably get my son to fill in a couple of things. He's the draft guru. That problem we had when we couldn't figure out the name of that player, my son would probably have rattled off about 5 of them. So he's an encyclopedia of sports. But I'll get him on those shows. And in the meantime, thank you guys. I saw up to 15 people in the show again in the chat. I appreciate all the new people. Aloha. There was a Michael in there. The usuals like Hemisphere, Calvin, Jerry. I appreciate all you guys joining us. And I know these shows are popular when we start talking about the draft.
Yeah.
Meantime, Bob, have a great, great cruise. Enjoy the sun. You don't have to deal with snow for 2 weeks. And we'll catch you next time on Under the Dome. And check out the Bayou Blitz tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.